Hi guys, again we are here to discuss another topic about AI, and this time is AI agents. Of course, again this time we will implement the concepts in a small project in .NET. So first of all, let me start from the problems that the AI chat introduce and AI agent will solve them. In AI chat, we can just generate the text and we cannot access real data. So this fact can generate hallucination. And hallucination just try to guess the response, not produce the real response. So what is the idea behind the solution in AI agents to resolve these issues? In AI chats, just we have the first and last step. But in AI agents, we will inject two extra steps. One is tools and another one is memory. In tools, we will, for example, call external services. Imagine that you want to get the price of the currency, or for example, get the temperature and weather of one city. In this form, if we want to AI answer better, we should get the data from some website, for example. This called AI can find the response better. And also we have memory. Memory can be a cache or can be another thing that guide or AI model to generate better response. And then the AI can generate the decision, but in the better form. This is the a small brief of the problems and the ideas of the AI agents, but I think it's enough and it's better to jump to the code. Okay, for implementing the code, we first of all need to add some namespace. First, semantic kernel, and another one is chat compilation of semantic kernel. In the next, we should create a builder and connect the OpenAI chat compilation to that builder. Now we add it to OpenAI chat compilation. This one needs some inputs. First of all, we should define the model ID, API key, and at the end, endpoint that we will call in the model. Model ID can be Gemini 2.5 Flash, and API key will be your own API key. I leave it empty in here, but when I want to test the application, I replace with the real API. And for endpoint, let me copy paste it. Okay, done. Now we can build this builder. In this stage, we should create a chat history and add the first prompt to it. In the first prompt, we can define the role for the model, and this is the best practice in prompt engineering. New chat history, and let me add user message, and in here we can, for example, say you are a weather agent. Okay, for chat with AI, we need one service with name of chat compilation service. And also we need to get some inputs from user, because user should type, for example, the city name, and we send it to chat history, and in chat history we can send it to AI and AI responds to us. So let me add some console.writeLine. First guide the user, and then in the loop we can get the data from the user. It's better to clear first the console to have fresh page. Ask about weather. Okay, now we need one while true loop, and in there we can get the input from the user. But first, maybe it's better to add this one too, and maybe better to have one backslash n, and yeah, input is good. And maybe it's better first define the exit convention. If input be q, good suggestion, we should break this while. Now we have input and we can add it to this chat history object. Okay, now we can use our service in here and send the chat history and also some setting and kernel to talk with AI model. For this stage, now it's enough to define empty setting, but in the rest of the video, you can understand we need more option and more setting in here. But for this stage, it's enough. To the chat history to have a better conversation with AI model. And AI model will aware to the response that it produced in the previous times. But in here at assistant message, yeah, it's in. But in here, I think we should be content. And also maybe it's better to write this in the console page as well. Okay, I think that's enough, and we can test it to see the very simple AI chat in here. I pause the video and change the API key with the real one, and you can provide for yourself and replace it in your code. In here, I should define one city, for example, Berlin. Okay, Berlin, let's to see the result. As you can see in here, temperature shows as 12 Celsius, but let's to check the real. You can see in here that Berlin has 22. The temperature that AI mentioned is not correct, and we have a difference between the AI response and the real response. In the rest of the video, we will try to generate the correct one and fetch the data from some websites and then show that, and maybe the data from some websites and then give it to the AI model, and AI model can generate the accurate response. Okay, now we're going to connect our code to external service and call that service to get the weather and provide this real-time data for our model. Let me create one class with name of weather plugin. And in here, let me copy and paste the code to manage the time better. In this code, we have first some private classes that we will need them for deserializing the response that we get from the external service. And also we need a method in here named getWeatherAsync. In getWeather, just we call the external service, and in here, because we need Latin lang, we define a dictionary that map the Latin lang to the city. So in here, we have this dictionary. In constructor, just we inject the HTTP client, and we simply call the API to external service. The only important thing in here is this attribute. This attribute allows the semantic kernel to call automatically, and AI can find this method and call it. But AI how can find this method and how can understand this method related to which prompt? And how it can use this method in its prompt. The answer is in the description. In the description, we define the goal of the method, and the AI, when read this description, understand, okay, so this weather is related to the city weather. Cool, cool, cool. Now we can jump to the memory and introduce Nicholas for saving stuffs in there. It can be a database like Redis, but in here for simplicity, just we introduce a simple class with name of memory service. And in here, just a simple string temperature unit, for example. And for the default, we set it for Celsius. Okay. So we can jump to weather plugin and inject some more codes in there. First of all, we need to have our memory service in here. And we should inject it in the constructor as well. Now we can get the temperature unit from database for from in here from class, or if it doesn't exist, we can get it from the default in here. For if it's Fahrenheit in here, if we have a temperature unit equal to Fahrenheit, we set the query param to Fahrenheit and we remove the duplicate one. And if we don't have it, left it as a empty string and it will be Celsius. And in here, in the URL, we should inject. Okay, we need to program the CS. We need more configs and more lines of the codes to introduce weather plugin and also the memory service. First, we should provide the weather plugin argument. Then we should define our memory service. And now we can define our weather plugin. Okay, in here we build the kernel and we can add this plugin in this kernel. And also for here, get chat message content link. As we earlier said, need more setting in here. So instead of this new prompt execution setting, we should define better setting in there. So let me define before while true. And in here, we can define the behavior of the function. So let me define function choice behavior. I choose the function choice behavior dot auto. That means that we allow to model to detect it needs to call the function or it should produce the response by its own knowledge. And in the auto, we need more functions as well. First of all, we should define which functions we will introduce to the model. If we set it as we will say all the functions that we added in here by plugins dot add from object, all these functions that in here just we have one weather plugin will be added to these functions. The second one is auto invoke and we allow to model to call the function by itself. For example, if the model decided to use any function, it can call it in that round as well. And also we can define more options as well. For example, in here, if I can say, for example, allow concurrent invocation, it's better to be false because of the debugging. For example, if you ask the weather of the Berlin and, for example, Paris, it doesn't send the response in two parallel requests. So it's better for the test to set as a false. Now it's ready to define this one and pass it in here. Okay, done. And it's ready to test it. Just a small thing before run the application and test the code is we should introduce our memory service in here. AI can save the unit the memory. How we should do that? Let me add this function in here, and this function has same idea. We have kernel function and also the description, but the description is different, and AI when find out change the temperature unit can call this method. And let me put a breakpoint for that and call it. Okay, if I say Berlin in Fahrenheit, first, the breakpoint comes to in here, chat message content. If we continue, you can see the model and the semantic kernel understand that it should come in here and to set the unit to Fahrenheit. Also, It can find this method by the description and come to this. If we continue, call this URL. Let me copy paste it. Later we need it. And if we continue, the response added to the chat history. And if we check it, you can see the model answered us the current weather in Berlin is 0 Fahrenheit with wind speed of 0 km/h. And if we check that link, you can see the response comes from this URL. The temperature is 0 Fahrenheit, while the speed is mentioned in other fields of the response. So you could see that with these codes, we could introduce some methods and the AI find them and make our responses and AI model richer and better. Bye bye.